From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hey, Middlers. Welcome to episode number 155 of From the Middle, a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview style podcast hosted by three middle-class guys living in the middle of... Hey, you know the thing. You know the deal. We're awesome. And we like to have fun and hang out. In this episode, we celebrate the fact that it's been 3 years of our humble little podcast. We do a little debrief on what that's felt like and what the experience has been like as your fearless hosts. And then we did dive into a long segment of answers from the middle. A lot of good questions this week, a lot of good answers, we hope. And then just catch up on some of the things we've been doing as the weather has gotten nice and extracurricular activities for our kiddos has winded down. And we hope you enjoy this week's episode.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole. I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
You guys know how much this fur baby term bothers me, right?
We do, yeah.
We've talked about this. It's a running theme. It's a running gag on the show. I think I have discovered one that I hate more. And I saw this post on Instagram and it made me so angry. I was in such a great mood. And it made me so angry when I saw it. So I'm going to share it with you now. I'm going to share my screen. For those of you who are just listening, there's a post by an Instagram account named I Wet My Plants, which already off to a bad start because it's a pun. And the post reads, "Yellowing leaves. Yellowing leaves can be so scary for plant parents."
Oh, boy.
And when I saw the words plant parents together, I wanted to hurt someone or something. And she goes on to talk about what you do if your plants have yellowed leaves. Later in the post, she writes, "Take a picture of your struggling plant and upload it to the app to get a proper diagnosis and treatment plan." What is happening?
I mean, so when I read that, I don't read that as somebody who actually sees plants as their children. I read that as just a turn of phrase. That is not to be taken literally. That's what I assume when I read all that.
Okay. I feel a little bit better.
But that's my take. And let me put it this way. I hope I'm right.
You know, millennials have so much love to give and so little money. I think they just need plants to be their children. And that's where we are.
Well, we're millennials, right?
I know. I mean, we in the sense that we are millennials, but not in the sense we're calling our plants our children. So.
Well, we had
Hold on, I have to give my beer baby some attention.
We had a great episode last week with Andy Woodhull, stand-up comedian.
Yeah, we did.
He was a lot of fun. Which means we had a week where we need to catch up on basically 2 weeks worth of stories and goings on and exciting things, not the least of which is the fact that we celebrated 3 years of doing this podcast. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
I would
3 years, third birthday, just learning how to walk.
Our little show baby.
Our little podcast baby. Do you guys, how do you feel? Like, I find when I tell people it's been 3 years, they're like, so how's that going? What are you doing with that? What are your goals? How do you guys answer those questions?
We're doing great if you're not listening.
Nobody asked me those questions. Thankfully, I feel good that they don't. I don't know how I would answer. I would just, I mean, I think at some point it's like, we're just still there, you know? The beautiful thing about not reporting to like radio, like a radio station, like, you know, head person or a TV broadcast network person is, can't cancel us. We just
exactly. It means that as long as we want to be there, we're just gonna
here.
be there.
Yeah, it's like in Mrs. Doubtfire, the guy that's still putting on his little dinosaur show 30 years later, just every day with the dinosaur or whatever the dinosaur shows, and it's just that we're just that guy. We're just the science guy, just still putting out our shows. It's lovely.
I think we've talked about this before. Like one of the things I don't know if it's something I've learned or thought about, but when people ask that, I say, you know, I think if we were really trying to grow this thing or explode it and really get out there, I think there are things that we would do differently. Sure. But I also think that would change the tone of what we're doing. And I just still like that it's just hanging out and having fun and a hobby and something that, and maybe that's just me justifying why we haven't exploded. But I just love the little community that we have and the little memes and jokes we share with one another and the hanging out. So I almost wouldn't want it to be this thing that we're treating like a business. I like that we're treating it like a fun hang. And so I don't know. That's kind of how I answer it.
You know, before we recorded tonight, that thought ran through my mind as well as you guys. So it's been, I mean, I don't want to sound dramatic. It's been a rough handful of weeks. Like mine is just in 15 different places for me. And you guys very kindly said, do you feel like, you know, not rallying and quite the opposite, as a matter of fact, like you said, Kory, just the hang, the get together and hang out. Kory, you have said it before that like the knowledge of just sort of having this standing appointment with a couple of friends to just talk about whatever, kind of highlights for me one of the things that we want from the middle to be sort of for other people, not necessarily escapism, but at the very least, just to show people that like you can still have just a cool conversation with other people. So that thing that we want to sort of communicate and give to other people is something that I experienced for myself, like in sort of the busy patches and the rough patches, like all the more reason to come record a podcast with you guys, as far as I'm concerned.
That's nice, man. I'm glad that that's how you feel about it. And I think that would be different if we were trying to, we got to get our numbers in Germany up because there's
right.
Like, I don't know that I want it to be that. And we don't invest a ton of money into marketing and advertising. And I think anyway, it's just a little inside baseball for some, but I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on like what it's felt like for the last 3 years doing this thing. And I think, and I know we've said this before, I mean, it got us through 2 pretty tough years where
did it?
We didn't know we were going to be stuck in our houses for 2 years and not be able to see each other. So in hindsight, that's one of those things that you go, man, I'm glad we started that and had that regularity and connection point during what was a really trying time. And, you know, so anyway, it's pretty cool. Happy 3 years, guys.
Dillon, did you have any tear jerking thoughts?
No. But sure, we could have done things different. I mean, people message us all the time and you can buy downloads and you can buy social media followers. We could have easily done that as a whole different strategy, but
sure.
No, to be serious for a moment, I think what Kory just said is something that I've thought about often. It would have been a very different last couple of years of everything going on had I not had this as a thing to work on, both as a project creatively, like to you know, like because all of it, Kendall does a ton of the work of the actual editing and putting the thing together and uploading, but there's still a lot of other things and ideas and guests and booking things and scheduling and some topics and discussions. And, so I think it was a project, it's been a fun project to work on outside of just the fun hangout too. It's a thing. I mean, Kory does the artwork and that's a thing, and it changes and it's rotating and it's constant. And so it's definitely been something fun to be able to work on. And I appreciate anybody that listens. And then we get to do stuff like having Andy Woodhull on and Kellen Erskine, and not to mention all the other guests who've been awesome. But I think there's a little bit of a soft spot for us with comics, just because it's something that we enjoy so much. But it's been cool.
I had this funny thought the other day while I was mowing, actually, and I thought the thing, and this is just me personally, probably overthinking, definitely overthinking. The thing that makes me the most credible or interesting, I never talk about on the show. And the things that we talk about are the silly, immature, fun things. And so I think we sort of vacillate between it truly being this escapism hang, like whatever comes up is fine and funny. But then the professional side of me sometimes thinks like, I probably could have been more thoughtful with like a narrative or a through line of that episode, or being a little more informative or educational. But then even that starts to feel like what I described before with the growth. It's like, well, then it wouldn't truly be a hang. It'd be like a thing that we were trying to craft and script and whatever. So I don't know. I bounce back and forth between that sometimes, thinking like, could we be doing more on the informational or educational or whatever front? And then I'm like, nah, let's talk about poop jokes and and whatever we're streaming and this funny stuff that happens with our kids.
Speaking of that, I was driving my wife and my daughter, my 4-year-old and I, we went to run an errand, grab some food, go do a quick drive by of a house that's for sale because we're looking for a home. And we're driving back, and it's really quiet. This is a road that's a very slight curve by a park, so it's kind of a peaceful part of the drive home. And all of a sudden, my wife just starts flailing everywhere. And I'm looking over, and she stops. So what was that? We're driving, so I'm driving, so it's not like I can like stop and look unless she sees something. And all of a sudden, it's like she just put together that our daughter is behind us, and she's like, "Did you just throw something?" And our 4-year-old goes, "Yeah." And before my wife could even follow up with the natural, "What did you throw?" she just goes, "It's just a Band-Aid." So like she felt like that was a fun thing to do.
Why are you freaking out? I'm going to throw Band-Aids more often now. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was just a Band-Aid. I mean, probably Moana. I don't know if she like balled it up and then just like flicked it or what. But of all the things to flick and throw, a used Band-Aid is certainly a gross one.
It is a gross one. Possibly not the grossest thing.
Yeah, I actually think my wife was almost a little relieved it wasn't a living thing like a bug.
Yeah.
But was still grossed out that it was a used Band-Aid. So that's something my child did.
We got in the car this morning, Case and I take him to school at about 8:30 each day, and we get in the car, and because it's just in our neighborhood, I let him sit in the front seat because I think technically he's not supposed to be sitting in the front seat. And he sits down and he goes, "It smells like dog poop in here." I go, "Check your shoes, man." So he looks at his shoes, and then he kind of is like moving his head around the front seat, over the middle center console, over by the glove box. And he goes, "No, I'm pretty sure it's just your coffee." It's those little things that I'm glad we have a forum on which to tell some of those things, if nothing else, for posterity.
Kids are the best.
So we started this segment a handful of episodes back called Answers from the Middle, and we've been having a lot of fun with that. And we do about 3 each episode and then get into the regular goings on of our lives. So we're going to start with a couple voicemails that we got. And the first one is about what happens when you run into people and want to add them to your phone.
Hey guys, I run into this thing professionally and personally all the time where I meet someone and we have a relatively pleasant or useful conversation and we want to stay connected. So what we do is we say, let me get your number, and we do that whole deal. It's one person calls the other, and what's your name? And you do the first name. There's this, what I wanted to ask about was there's this weird tension where you don't want to be too intrusive, but that feeling of not wanting to be intrusive by asking, like, what's your last name? What's your address? When's your birthday? Can I take a picture of you? I know that sounds ridiculous, but by getting a full contact card, the likelihood that you'll actually stay in touch, that you'll actually stay connected, the ability to put their business in there, like to be able to search your contacts later, that I've had my contact page for like 30 years, right? And like, there's so many people in there that I just don't remember who Bill is, you know? So how would you, I just wanted to hear you guys talk about like, that tension of like going deeper up front and all the benefits of that in getting someone's contact versus the awkwardness of being too pushy. How would you manage that? Do you think that's a thing? You know, I don't know. I just want to hear you say.
It's a good one.
That's really funny. I feel like there's a few equations with a few elements of that you can swap in and out depending on the situation. First of all, duration of conversation might equal more points of interest that you can ask about. If it's like a quick bumped in, oh, so sorry, I'm just here to grab something. I'm a landscaper at Lowe's. Oh, you're a landscaper? Oh, I need help with something. Can I give you a call sometime? Yeah, that'd be great. You're probably not going, you know, do you have a spouse anniversary that I should know about? You know, and for anyone, I'm sure everyone caught it, but we're talking about the contact card. So when you go enter a new contact in your phone, that's called the contact card, where you can enter as many bits of information as you get.
Yeah.
I feel like a certain part of the equation is duration of the conversation. It might also change based on gender, your gender, their gender, and what you're comfortable asking for. You know, are you... There's so many fields that you can enter. It just starts to be funnier the more you ask. And maybe that needs to be a bit where like somebody just goes out, tries to have a good conversation with as many people as they can, and politely asks and keeps asking the entire way down the contact card.
Until the person's uncomfortable. And what was the line?
See how far you can get into the contact card. Cool. Yeah. What's your email? What's your work email? When's your birthday?
Can I create a memoji of you?
When's your anniversary?
Yeah. I wonder if we talk about being completionists. So Kory is completionist when it comes to streaming things. He can't skip to the next episode using the automatic thing, because he has to see the credits all the way through, or at least fast forward through them, so that when he pulls up Netflix, it shows 100%. There's me. My approach to video games is as a completionist. I haven't beat the game until I have unlocked every single secret, have collected every single coin, and those kinds of things. Are there connection card completionists who, like, almost like a mental illness, have this compulsion, like, I cannot please just humor me. I can't walk away from this conversation until I have everything on this phone.
I like the idea that they're 33% full though, and they're like, I got to get to Panera with this person so I can know them more, so I can complete the contact card.
I like the idea that somebody gets uncomfortable partially way through all the questions. They leave and the person just goes, I'm gonna have to delete it now. it wasn't enough. Scroll to the bottom, delete contact.
Yeah.
Guess I'll never get a call Bill back.
I know you all the way, or I don't know you at all.
Hold on, I'm just gonna add a custom field. Hold on.
So in your example, Dillon, of the landscaper, based on how short that conversation was, I think he's just Bill Landscaper is his last name.
Yes.
And for that one, right?
I mean, I think it's perfectly acceptable, even in that quick of a conversation, to get first, last name, and a phone number or email. Like, that's perfectly reasonable to expect to get a last name if it's especially professional. It's all the other custom fields.
Yeah.
It's all the other stuff that's the variable. It's a great question.
Well, and I think just a quick, because he had asked about the importance of the of that initial rapport with a person, and just an interesting thought that yes, it could be important. However, it could possibly go the other way, as in like you feel like you should have an initial rapport with a person while you're doing the contact card thing or before you do the contact card thing, and then you come and realize that like, oh, you're one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I can't have you rip up a tree stump in my yard. I'm sorry. We could have done such great business together had we not known so much about each other.
Oh, you're a Pisces. Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
That's an issue.
Can you also imagine a contact card completionist who centers the entirety of their date conversations around completing? Please tell me about yourself. When were you born? What high school did you go to? That's cool.
Yeah.
What are your parents' names? When's their anniversary?
Wow, we took this one off the cliff, and I love it.
What tattoos or body markings in the farmers' tan areas?
Who would you say your emergency contact is?
What if something were to happen to you right now? Who would I have to notify?
Yeah. Do you have a fax number that I could send you funny faxes? Are you into those?
Oh, that's great. I have a heartwarming and wholesome story that plays into not only this question, but our questions from the last episode where we were talking about when you could Facebook friend someone.
Okay. Yeah.
So, my son has gotten into baseball. It's a sport that I've wanted him to be more interested in, but because he was interested in others, my wife encouraged me to let him focus on those and not distract him with my dreams of him playing baseball. So I gently backed down, a topic we've covered before, like how much is like trying to get your kid into something you enjoy too much and what's the right line. So I backed off. And then I saw Sherry and Case like playing pitch and catch with the ball gloves the other day. And I'm like, that's something I wanted to show him. What's up? And she goes, well, he's been into it. I don't know why you don't take him to a baseball diamond and just hit balls with him. And I'm like, you said he was focused on soccer. So anyway, Case is interested in baseball, but he doesn't have a glove. So I'm like, I'm going to take him to Play It Again Sports. It's a used sports equipment store here in Central Ohio. And so we talked to the sales guy. I said, hey, this is my son, Case. He's 7 years old. I'd like to get, a bucket of baseballs and a batting helmet and maybe a glove. And so he's like, all right, everything's right over here. And as the guy is talking to us, another shopper is just kind of hovering over our shoulder until the sales guy goes away. And this nice person says, hey, I overheard your son's getting into baseball. And I said, yeah, he's just kind of he's like, is he playing on a team or anything? I go, no, he's just really interested in learning. And so I'm just going to teach him. I played all through, K through 12. And so I'm just going to teach him. He goes, listen, I coached my son from the time he was small all the way through baseball. I have a glove at home. I live 2 minutes from here. I can run home and get it. I would love to give you your son, my son's glove, and know that it was going to somebody that would love to learn. And I was like, that is so nice. And I said, Case, this nice man is going to give you. So he's like, let me just buy this real quick and I'll be right back. So this man runs home and comes back with this like gently used, nice Franklin leather baseball glove and gives it to Case. And I was like, dude, that is so nice of you. Like, thank you so much. And then I said, probably a little weird, do you mind if I get a picture of you with my son? Because I'm going to tell this story. And it's just so nice to know that there are people still out there doing random acts of kindness. I would love to just, have a picture to go with the story. And he's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So he and Case get their picture outside of the Play It Again Sports. And then he adds me on Facebook. Wow. And his name's Craig. And he's like in law enforcement and in Westerville. And I was like, first of all, what a cool dude. So encouraging to know that there are still like very nice and generous people out there. Yeah. But then it plays into the like, can I add you in my phone, get a picture of you, add you on social media? But it's like it's a dude I would love to hang out with and get to know more. So there you go.
Dude, that's awesome. You know, we have our shared note that we loosely work from, and all it said in there was Craig from Played Against Sports, with Kory's name next to it. And the whole time you were telling that story, I was waiting for the ball to drop on where Craig becomes some kind of like weird lunatic. And he's not, as far as we know. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is like, I mean, he did friend you kind of quickly, but
ask me in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was pretty cool. All right, let's move on to our next question here.
Hey guys, old Jer Bear here. This may be a non-starter, but I was just thinking about how normal it is in my income level, which is middle income at best in the Midwest, to take anything that someone has put out on the street. Like, that's a normal, socially acceptable behavior, that if someone puts trash out. Now, of course, it's an appalling thought to go through someone's trash can. If the trash items are enclosed, you can't touch them. But if someone puts out their old couch on the side of the road, now couches, I wouldn't do upholstered items, but I'm just saying, it's fair game. And that strikes me as super normal, but also super odd. And I thought maybe we could ask, your listeners if maybe it's a regional thing or maybe I'm just poor. I don't know. But I don't know. The etiquette around just taking other people's trash is something that's pretty well established, having never been talked about in the Midwest.
Interesting.
Quick insert there. If you leave us questions or for the answers from the middle segment, they are anonymous. He happened to ID himself, but you can send us an email or a message or a text if you want them to be anonymous. But thank you for the question. This is great. Kendall, I think you were going to jump in.
Well, no, I was just as he was talking there, the thought crossed my mind that he's right for the most part, that if it's enclosed in a trash bin or certainly in a trash bag, you don't go opening it up to rummage through. But if a whole couch is sitting out, like, that's fair game because it's not in anything. My question is it acceptable then to rummage through the couch to find change?
If
that's a gray area.
It's out there. It's out there.
I think it's out there. Yeah. It's funny. I remember I've apartment hopped a lot in the last 10 years. I remember moving out of one apartment and I had Kory, you actually helped me move it. I had a hand-me-down, a free couch and love seat. They were blue. They were not something I was ever going to take to another place, but I needed them at this place. And I remember waiting for a nice weather day to have you come help me take them to the dumpster because they weren't high-end couches. They were free to me. They were like blue with like flowers on them or something, but I knew they were certainly in nice enough condition that I didn't want them to sit out in the rain and get trashed. They weren't like ripped or scuffed or anything. And so I remember thinking we need to wait for kind of a nice day or two. And you helped me drive them around. You brought your van. You helped me drive them around the apartment complex to the dumpster. We did that with one of them. We went back to get the other one. And by the time that we were back to the dumpster, some people were already loading it into because we set it by the dumpster and, apartment complexes, they're huge bins. They're not like just already loading it in and then probably seeing us bring the other piece. And I remember being delighted by that. Like, it wasn't something I needed anymore. I didn't pay for it, so I didn't feel like I had to keep it. But I also remember thinking, I hope these go somewhere. I'd hate for them to just get tossed in the dumpster. They're nice enough that anyone could use them. And so absolutely, it's fair game. I agree to not rummage through a trash bag or a small trash can. But, if somebody sets out any number of things that could still be good by the trash, go for it.
Mm-hmm. We do have in our neighborhood, I haven't seen them in a while, but pickers who are metal recyclers, right? They're looking for metal on trash day that they can put in the back of their pickup truck and then go get money for it. And that has absolutely never bothered me, because like he he did used to like, he would open up our trash bins and like look for some obvious metal and load it up. And there was one day where we had like one of those bagsters, like the big green bag you can buy at Home Depot, and then they come in with a big crane and take it out. I had one of those filled up, and I saw him come around more than once to like rummage through that thing, and never had a problem with it. And then on like next door or one of the local whatever community things, like there were people complaining about this guy, and I was thinking to myself, like, why do you care? Because this particular guy, anyway, he was not leaving a mess behind at all. Like, even if he did open up a bag or anything, like he put everything, like I watched him take things out of the bagster as he was digging, and then I watched him put it all back.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was fine. Like, I never understood what the big deal there was, but I could see if it's the wrong person, just leaving a mess, attracting the coons.
Well, Kendall, was it you that talked about maybe your maybe Amy there was some kind of community group where people like will toss out like, hey, we're gonna get rid of this, like almost like a sale page, but it's specifically just for free stuff.
Yes, it's called different communities have the same thing, the Buy Nothing. They're Facebook groups. So there's like a Buy Nothing Gahanna, there's a Buy Nothing Pataskala probably.
Yeah.
And it's just that you get on there and you say, hey, we're not using these wine glasses anymore. Does anybody want them? And then you'll get 15 people to say, yeah, I'll take them. And then the etiquette there is you wait a day or two so that people have a chance to see it and respond. And then you just come up with your own way of randomizing who gets it. By the same token, you could post on there and be like, we just bought an inflatable pool for our kids. Does anybody have a pump we can borrow for a day or two? And then somebody will say, yeah, sure. Here's our address. Come get it.
I love that. Our neighborhood has a Facebook group as well. And they'll just do like a first come, first serve. Like, hey, our child has outgrown this bicycle with training wheels. It's going to be in the area of grass between the road and the sidewalk. Here's our address. Come get it. And if you get there and it's gone, it's like tough cookies. And they'll do that with sectionals or lazy boys or nice patio furniture is a common one. It's like, just come get it. I even did when we dug our pool, and I used the sod cutter to get all the sod up. And I had 2 foot by 2 foot sections of nice sod. I said, hey, I got sod, come and get it. And people brought their trucks and came and loaded up their trucks with grass to fill patched areas of their yard. So I like that. And I imagine that this probably isn't regional, right? Like, this has got to be everywhere people are doing this. I just think it's like, how known is the individual doing it? We had a guy with a white pickup truck that would come the night before trash day every single evening. And he was specifically interested in like bicycle parts or bicycles or little Power Wheels trucks and stuff. So I think if it's like a known individual that's coming through an area like weekly, that's one thing. If it's somebody that the neighborhood doesn't seem to know, when the inevitable messages start going out of like, who's this guy and if he's picking through trash, I do think that's a little different.
Mm-hmm. And not only do I think it's not regional, I would think the warmer climate that you live in, the more it happens. I would think in the southern part of the US, it would be even more common because you can do it year round. Here, you're likely not doing that, December, January, February.
Yeah.
Just walking around or driving around, hopping out when it's cold and icy, trying to dig through people's trash. So, I would say it's probably even more common.
Well, we've got one more question for answers from the middle, but did I ever tell the story on this podcast of the magical dumpster?
I don't think so. It sounds amazing.
So we lived in a townhome in a kind of nice part of the suburbs, where it was often the case that people lived there for a very short period of time while they were building their pretty much forever home. And so this was people who were relatively well-to-do in short-term townhomes while they built their house out in the country. And it had one of those large dumpsters that Dillon was describing with a large ramp that went up to where you actually dumped in your trash. So like 20 feet down the ramp, at the bottom of the ramp, people would put objects that they thought were too nice to just be purely pitched. And it was almost like a holding area of, hey, come and get this, right?
Yeah.
So this townhome was new. We were just starting our family. We only had the girls at this point. And I said to Sherry can verify this story. I said to Sherry, you know what would be nice? It would be really cool if we got the girls one of those little Power Wheels vehicles so they could ride around the neighborhood. I kid you not, a week or two later, there was a Go Diego Go Power Wheels mini version at the bottom of that ramp. And I was like, that's crazy. It like granted our wish. So months later, right? I'm telling Sherry, have you ever had an aquarium? She's like, yeah, we had one when I was a kid for a little bit, but not for a long period of time. I said, I've always wanted an aquarium. I want some bala sharks and some Terra. Are they called Terra? Whatever. Some little fish. I want to get an Tetras. I want to get a little neon Tetras is what I want. I said, I'd love to get an aquarium for our apartment. I kid you not. A few weeks later, there's a 50-gallon aquarium, corner aquarium. So it's made to go in a corner. It's like a pentagon shape. It was sitting on a base, a wooden base. And in the wooden base was all the accessories you needed, the pumps, the gravel, the little forts for the fish to hide in, like everything was at the bottom of the ramp. So I go out there and start bringing stuff in load at a time. And then I go, you know what would be great? A bag of money. Fun times.
Yeah, something similar would happen at Ohio State on move out day with all the people who didn't want to haul electronics across the country. And so you could go down to the dumpsters and find like printers and computer monitors and keyboards. And I didn't need to participate because I didn't need any of the stuff and wasn't selling it. But if you were into that kind of thing, sometimes even appliances and mini fridges, because like somebody's from California and they're not taking any of that stuff home. It's like they're going to slip a laptop in a bag and they're out. Yeah. And so it was amazing the amount of stuff that you could get in those dumpsters on move out day.
Yeah. This is the first time I've ever had this thought about anything, Kory, but I think you have a killer children's book idea.
The magical dumpster?
The magical dumpster.
Yeah. If I only knew an illustrator.
Exactly.
All right, Dillon, let's hit our last one.
Oh, yeah. One more question. Man, here I am thinking it's break time. All right. So last question. Hey, from the middle, I was invited to a guy's weekend. It's for a friend's 40th birthday, which is long done and over with. Closer to his actual birth date, his wife invited my wife and I and two other couples to dinner and an activity, and I already got him a small gift that was given to him at that event. Anyway, back to the guy's weekend. He said, my wife is giving me the gift of a guy's weekend. We'll be staying in an Airbnb, doing distillery tours on the Saturday and golfing on Sunday. Do you guys want to come? The question, what am I obligated to financially contribute to? What's the etiquette? He said his wife is giving him this gift, but do I pay for gas if we carpool, kick in for my share of the Airbnb, buy a meal or two of his, cover a round of golf?
That is interesting. I've had a scenario one time where I went to a relatively expensive concert on a friend's wife's dime who bought it so that he didn't have to go alone. And I, on a very smaller scale, had the same thought. Like, I feel like I can pay for something. Like, I feel like I need to pay for something here. And I felt that compulsion with a concert ticket, much less a trip.
Whew. That's tough. I feel like with the disclaimer up front, my wife is treating me to this, all of this stuff. I feel like what's implied is we're going to go, but we don't want to force everyone to pay for a bunch of stuff. So basically, I'm paying as the host, but also, whatever. But I don't think I could go without like some cash, cards. I would think at least at bare minimum, if you're doing multiple days worth of stuff, maybe buy a drink or two over the course of the weekend, as a celebratory. I just feel like even though the trip seems all inclusive, I think you're likely on the hook for a little more than that. I think it's implied that you probably should offer.
Well, I wouldn't say it's implied. I would say that most friends who would do something as generous as this would probably actually have very little expectation that anything's going to get reciprocated. I don't think they're going to hold a grudge if nothing got reciprocated. So off the bat, unless you know the person and you know otherwise, I don't think that that's a real concern. However, there is a big part of me that says if you can't afford it, and let's say, for example, it wouldn't have been an issue for you to pay for your entire portion of the trip, then I feel like that puts you in a position, if you're already a generous person, that puts you in a position where you could be possibly more generous than you would normally be. Because if you're already generous, there's probably a lot of things that you would have paid for anyway. And now you feel weird about possibly paying for those things because you have this other thing going on over your head. Like, am I doing it because I feel like I have to? When the reality is you probably would have anyway, you idiot. So I would say try to push the guilt away, because I don't think that that's actually a problem. And instead allow yourself to be as generous as you normally would be. Plus give step it up a little bit, because you've been put in a position where you can.
Yeah, I'm reading the subtext of this, and it sounds like that was because this part of the email was in quotes where it says, "My wife is giving me the gift of this weekend. Here's all the stuff we're doing. Do you guys want to come?" So that suggests that there's a group of people receiving this message, some of which will say, "Yep, that sounds great, I'm in," and some of which will say no, which changes the percentages of the Airbnb and the stuff. And I'm doing the math going, Airbnb, distillery tour, a round of golf. That's quite the weekend. I think you gotta kick in. You gotta kick in at least, like Dillon said, a drink, a meal. Hey man, I'll cover your round of golf, whatever.
I mean, the big variable is we don't know the person.
Yeah.
Right. So like, some people in our lives are just the people that'll pay for everything and it doesn't bother them. And financially, you might know they're in that position. And then I've had people that I've known that'll say like, "Oh yeah, it's all taken care of." And then they're so not responsible enough to pay for it or have the money, or I don't know. We've got to know the people too. If
you're legit invited and you can't afford anything, the people who invited you know that. And so just have fun, man. Enjoy yourself.
I'm imagining the conversation afterwards if this person doesn't contribute at all. And they're like, "Can you believe he just sat there and enjoyed all that stuff and didn't even offer?"
Yeah. I mean, you could also maybe, I know the point is, a gift was mentioned. Do I have to part of the subcontext is here, do I have to take another gift? You could take a gift or multiple gifts that everyone could enjoy too. So like, if people are the sit around and have cigars and a drink kind of people, you could take that as an experience that everyone could enjoy. That way you're contributing, but it's something that you could take like some games and cards, to like, "Hey, I'm bringing all of this stuff that we can do."
Yeah.
You could contribute that way. That way it's something you'd enjoy anyways, but also everyone can benefit from too.
Good idea.
And maybe that's not an outright gift, but like, you're not handing them a bag with tissue paper and a card, but like
you added to the experience.
Right. Yeah. So I think you could do that too. And that would be something. You get up there, you find there's a cool gift shop, something, that everyone can take home, and, unique snacks or drinks of wherever you're going to visit that you can buy everybody to try out. That would be another way to think about the gift too.
Good one. Well, let's take a quick break. Here's some words from our friends in the Odd Pods Media Network, and we'll be right back.
After these messages.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Richie.
I'm Little Matt.
And here in the 500 Section Lounge, we are three dads who host a family-friendly weekly podcast.
Yep, we laugh, we go on tangents, and we talk to great guests.
Tangents. I don't know what you're talking about with that. You know, there are gases leaking.
All right, okay.
Yeah, we have legendary conversations from sports to history and everything in between.
So be on the lookout for what we do next.
And always be there to
Grab a listen.
Speaking of going away and camping.
Yeah, so three of the YouTubers that we've mentioned on this podcast are hammock campers. So Steve Wallace, Camping with Steve on YouTube, uses a hammock. Our buddy Kevin over at Lifeline it uses a hammock. And then we've talked a lot about Fowler's Makery and Mischief on YouTube. Zachary Fowler, who is on Alone, swears by a hammock and says he'll never go back to tent camping ever again. So, per Steve's personal recommendation, I purchased myself a Hennessy hammock. No, it wasn't a personal recommendation. It's the general recommendation on his website, because I'm sure he gets asked all the time, what equipment, what gear do you use? Kendall, you'll appreciate this. I did a ton of research on not only which brand to use, but once I had decided on the brand, which model of hammock do I get? Because there are so many variables for how you purchase these things. And is it for a 4-season camping? Are you doing warm weather, purely cold weather? How tall are you? How much do you weigh? Who's your emergency contact? You know, those sort of things. So I made all the selections and just got it purchased and did a trial run in my backyard. I gotta say, I think I'm sold on the idea of hammock camping. It's like sleeping on a cloud, and it's so comfortable. And I don't know if you can go back to cots and air mattresses ever again after this. It was amazing. I think I'm hooked.
Yeah. Well, Steve certainly does. He doesn't I've seen him use a hammock, but I see him use cots far more often. And he flat out, he's the kind of guy that, like, it could be drizzling out, but that's not a big enough deal for him to even bother bringing a tent or a cot. Like, he'll just lie down his jacket and sleep under the stars. Like,
yeah.
I want him on this podcast so bad.
So let's just keep putting it out there. Steve, if you're listening.
I want to talk to that guy. He's my kind of people. He and his crazy neighbor. I want to talk to them both at the same time.
That's what we do. We get crazy neighbor first, and then we go through crazy neighbor to get Steve.
Crazy neighbor has his own channel.
Oh, snap.
Everybody has their own YouTube channel. So for the layperson that has never looked into any of this before, when you say hammock, is it as simple as you're just tying up to 2 trees? Is it a multi-point, 3-4 point system? Okay, so Kendall's saying 3 for those not on YouTube. So it's a triangular hammock setup. Does that because it's 3 trees? Are you supposed to like tie it off really tight so it's pretty flat, or is it when people think of hammock like really like you're down in it? Is that what it is?
So get your traditional backyard cargo net hammock out of your mind. So that is literally just a surface to lay on with nothing else. The Hennessy hammock, specifically camping hammocks, are a sheath. You're getting inside of a fully enclosed thing. The top half is a mosquito net, so air can come in. The bottom half is the nylon that you're actually lying in. The ones for winter have an additional layer on the bottom. So there's 2 layers on the bottom. And what you do is you shove a little foam pad in there, because if there weren't that foam pad in there, you'd be getting the cold air on your back while you sleep. And so you can put in your coat, you can put in extra layers of clothing that you've packed and that foam pad, and that gives you a little insulation on the bottom. There's a second piece, which is a rain fly that goes on a second line over top of that whole unit. So you're still open air and air can move across you, but you can put a rain fly on top, which acts like a tent to keep water off of you because all that's on top of you is the mosquito net. And I'm only using 2 trees. And then you stake the sides of the hammock down to the ground to keep it wide a little bit. Now, what's interesting about the Hennessy hammock, this guy, Tom Hennessy, the guy who founded the company, went down to Central America and found out that the locals, so most people think I could never sleep in a hammock because my back would be arched and I'd be in great pain the next morning when I woke up. What he found out is the locals in Central America, they actually sleep on a slight diagonal. So you're not laying parallel to the rope between the 2 trees. You're at a slight angle. And what that does is allows you to sleep a little more flat. And it's a way more comfortable experience. Now, the tying, I got to share with you, these things called cam jams are the best thing I've ever heard of, because even the Hennessy hammock just recommended that you tie your main line using a figure 8 and a half hitch knot to the tree. But Kevin Glowicki over at Lifeline on Instagram told me about these things called cam jams. And I'm going to share my screen and try to explain it for the people just listening. So what these dudes are, you literally just run the line through the back of this device, which is hooked to what's like a seat belt strap wrapped around the tree. Mm-hmm. And then once you move it, pull it through that device, it's got teeth and a little gear that are providing tension in the opposite direction. So all you do is have to pull that thing and you don't even have to tie a knot. You just put it through that thing, run it through, pull it as tight as you can. And they have different sizes that can hold up to like 1,500 pounds of weight. So I literally didn't even have to tie a knot, just run it through there, pull it tight. Wow. They recommend that you tie a knot right here, right where the teeth want to grab the thing. I didn't even do that. I just pulled it right through and it was put up in minutes. Amazing experience. Had a lot of fun. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. Anyway, hammocks. Wow. So much fun.
Wonderful. We've been talking about literally just today, going car camping with the family this summer. Talked to the kids about it. They're into it. I talked Amy into it because I told her, like, if we go to actual campgrounds, like, I mean, there's pools and stuff for the kids to do. Like, there's showers, like, you don't have to bring a shovel with you.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom. So I think we might get into that this summer, car camping.
That sounds really fun. And I would be down. I'm inviting myself.
I can't wait to hear about all the research you do into little things that you take with you to make camping easier. That's going to be the real highlight. You're going to have a whole little like shoebox full of like, here's a 14-in-1 tool that I found for whatever.
Well, I've already have the basics because I've been dreaming about camping with my family for a long time.
Yay.
And so little by little, like when I get a fire pit, I want the portable one, right? That.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, yeah, it works because we like to have fires on our driveway, but it also fits in the trunk of my car.
Yeah, it does.
So there's that.
Speaking of kids and family events, I know we had a very full weekend. It's the end of May here, and the end of May means the end of school, but also a lot of sports seasons and extracurricular activities. And I know, Kendall, you sent some pictures in our group text about, I'll let you share, but we also had a recital for Chloe's baton and dance. I shared on this podcast the story of going to the first ever twirling competition and what that was like. Case had his final soccer game of the season. What was your experience like at the recital? You had a question in our note that we got to get to because I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah. So my darling little baby girl had her very first ever dance recital, and it's my first experience with that kind of thing, especially with her And dude, I tell you what. So we go to this dance recital, and it's in the high school gym, and this dance studio company, not company, studio, is huge, and like hundreds of high school and younger, all the way down to like 2-year-olds. And so there's a lot of events. We were there for 2 hours, which meant that we stayed until intermission on day 2 of this big dance recital event. And it's not like it's not like the same show for 2 days. They just have that many recitals, events, teams, whatever. And it took about an hour for them to get around to Lydia's group. They had 2 different dances at 2 different times because they do ballet and tap. And I'm thankful for that, because just like the first 15-20 minutes of me watching this dance recital was me just super emotional and crying at the very thought that I was about to see my little girl at her first dance recital. So that by the time she came up, I was over the emotional stuff, and was able to like have the wherewithal to take a couple pictures and enjoy myself. But at the same time, like, so she does her first one, and then we're watching some other things. She does her second one, and now I'm just like, do we leave now? Like, hey, can I go? But no, there's more. And I'm texting with my wife because she had volunteered herself to be a room mom for these little girls, just keeping the little ones in check, I suppose. And so I'm like, where do we meet you? What do we do? Because I had flowers that I wanted to give to her. And so I'm like, when are you guys leaving? And she's like, well, we're allowed to leave. We're going to leave at intermission. And I don't have a program or anything. So I don't know how long it is until intermission. And it turns out it took them a couple hours to get to intermission. I enjoyed myself there. It was actually kind of entertaining for me to watch. There were some of the dance crews that were really good. Some impressive stuff, and it was fine. But I did have the thought of, are you obligated to stay to watch other people's kids do things in that kind of situation? Or is it understood? Is it rude to get up and leave as soon as your kid's done? Or is it understood that that's an okay thing to do because no one, like, a lot of people don't want to be here? What is that like? I have that question. What do you guys think?
Same question. I just experienced it. I have to jump in here because Chloe's, what do they call them? Group? Chloe's studio, the studio she's a part of.
Sure. Yeah.
I was wondering, what is the selection criteria for who gets to perform a thing? Because some children were doing a solo act, an act with another group. And this is their hip hop one, but then they're going to do one kid could be in 4 different things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
My kid, Chloe, just happened to be in 2. In the first set of stuff, she was 8th out of 25 or so. And then after intermission, she was 14th out of 25 or so. And there was a finale that she had to be a part of.
Oh, man.
And I was like, clever. So the finale means you're going to want to stay to see her in the very last thing, which was each girl coming out either individually or with the group that they had last danced with to the Kenny Chesney song, Don't Blink, which is all about the passing of time in your life, and everybody grows up and gets old. And so you're already emotional because you've watched your child do something they love in front of a large group of people to applause and support. But I had the same question, like, can we leave after 14 in the second half and just say, hey, Chloe, we love you. We've watched both of your things, but we're not going to see you in the finale? Or do you just got to stay because people are looking at you going, how dare you leave just after your kid's done? It's a real question.
Dillon,
you got to help us here.
You have a daughter, but you've not experienced anything here yet, which means you're a good outside voice.
I in the spirit of being truly nuanced, I think it really depends the length of the show, the type of thing, like where is it, the venue matters. As an example, Kory, you've talked about being in show choir in high school, so were we. It was not expected that you sit in the auditorium and watch 20 different schools perform 30-minute shows. A lot of times in fact, you'd want to go in and watch your own kids and then leave so other people could get in and see their kids in and out through the day, because that's kind of how those were structured.
But that was a competition. This is a recital where this is the end of year performances for all the other people that are in your child's group
so that like
studio.
For a dance studio, like they package it as we're putting on a show.
Yeah. I
There's
think if
just
it's
37 acts.
I think if it's not a competition, which is very clearly set up to like come and go, depending on the duration. I mean, I think time factors in here for any reasonable adult. If the whole thing is 2 hours ish or less, you probably just got to stay and watch the whole thing. If it's like a 4 or 5 hour show, I don't think anyone including an intermission, I don't think anyone expects an adult to stay the whole time. I think time is absolutely key. How long is the total event? And that would absolutely dictate, whether there's an expectation that you stay or not.
Yeah.
I think so. You got to answer that. If the whole show is 2 hours or less, sorry, I think you're stuck there for 2 hours.
Man, there's some parents, as Kory said, like some of these kids will be in like 4, 5, 6, 8 different events, or groups or whatever. And man, I imagine that from what I was watching, like some of those students probably had events in the first and second half of the show on both days. That means that if their parents wanted to be committed to see everything, they would have had to be in the high school auditorium for 4 or 5 hours, 2 days in a row.
See, that feels more like a competition. They can call it a show, but like a 2-day event, absolutely, you've got to pass to not stay for all of it. 4 or 5 hours each day, you've got to pass to not stay for all of it. That's too much time. That's too much time to expect parents to sit there and watch that's really good context. If it was a 1 night, 2 hour event, I think you're just in it for the 2 hours. If you would comfortably sit that long in a movie theater, you can't complain about sitting at an event that long.
But I'll tell you what they don't do is there was a program to be had, I think, and it just gave you the order of events. There was nothing that told you what time things were going to happen because they didn't know.
Yeah.
They just know that, look, it starts at 2. Your kid is up 17th. So good luck guessing there.
Somebody's got to know from a previous year. There's got to be another parent that's like, hey, this might be a 4 or 5 hour thing.
Yeah, general times, but no, there's no hard and fast rules. What I do appreciate about the main lady whose studio Chloe is dancing in, like her name's Miss Angel. This is Angel's High Steppers. This is her group of girls. What I appreciate about her as the MC, she would, while the applause were happening, she was already the girls from the previous song weren't even off the stage, and she had everybody queued up so that the next group of girls was taking the stage before the first girl had even exited stage left. I was like, go Angel, good for you.
Yeah. She doesn't want to be here.
Well, then I think if you do get up and leave early, I think some of those parents that are giving you judgmental stares are like, I wish we had the gall to do what they're doing.
It's only because they want to be getting up as well. They're thinking about that Wendy's drive-through. They're thinking about, like, man, a Frosty would
Taco
be
Bell.
so good.
Taco Bell gets their Mexican pizza back, and I'm stuck here.
Yeah. Come on. I can see it in my mobile app right now, and I can't even go pick it up.
Oh, that's funny. So this has been a longer episode. Decision time. Do we want to talk about some of the things we're streaming, or do we just save that for next time?
Let's do next time.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I just want to thank Artius Man because I have the Invigoration beard oil in right now, and it smells amazing. Their products are awesome. We talk about them all the time. I know the owner. He knows me now. We love Jeff, and the things that he makes over there at Artius Man truly are fantastic. All natural ingredients and smell great. Your significant other will love them. Take care of your beard, your skin. Artiusman.com, ARTIUSMAN.com. Use promo code the middle. That's the middle, all one word, no spaces, at checkout to get 25% off of your first order. And then forever, when you purchase through them, you are now tagged as someone who was sent by us. And so your purchases will not only help you and support Artius Man, but it'll support us. And we really appreciate it. And we never mention this, but if you go to our link tree below, there is a tip jar. All these sports we're putting our kids in, they cost money, and so it would really help. So many sequins outfits were purchased this dance season. I'm kidding, but if you like the content that we put out there, if you appreciate that we're answering your questions on the segment Answers from the Middle, we would really appreciate if you throw 100 or something in there. That would really mean a lot. So
I think that's our version of there are websites set up. It's like buy me a cup of coffee, or Patreon or whatever, or monetizing a channel or a thing. I think this is our way to bypass all of that.
There you go.
If you enjoy the content, it's still free. Every now and then, drop something in the tip jar.
It would mean a lot. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next Wednesday on From the Middle. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, 3 thumbs up.
How do you? Wait a minute.